What if I told you that the secret to lasting love isn't really about avoiding conflict, but maybe actively embracing it?
Hmm.
Is it just magic? Or luck? Or is it actually something we can, cultivate? Today, we're diving into some surprising insights that might just change how you think about keeping love alive.
That's exactly what we're exploring. This deep dive, it really synthesizes insights from a lot of relationship research, psychology, and, well-being studies.
Wow.
Our mission is kind of to cut through all the noise and nail down the concrete, actionable factors that really contribute to long-term satisfaction and resilience in partnerships. We're drawing from some fascinating sources you've shared with us.
Okay, let's unpack this then. Because here's the thing. The undeniable truth about, any human connection, really.
Right.
Conflict is absolutely inevitable.
Right. It's unavoidable.
It's this dynamic process that kicks in when our goals feel compromised, maybe rejected, and it can definitely stir up some pretty intense emotional reactions. No couple, no matter how deeply connected they seem, gets to skip this part.
You're absolutely right. And while, yes, conflict is unavoidable, serious, unresolved conflicts, they pose a very real threat to marital satisfaction and happiness. I mean, research consistently shows that recurring marital conflict is a huge predictor of dissatisfaction, separation, and, ultimately, divorce.
Yeah.
We're seeing global divorce rates steadily climbing. For instance, Turkey saw a pretty shocking 37% increase in just 20 years.
Wow, 47%. That's a staggering leap. And the sources you provided, they really highlight how incredibly varied the causes of these conflicts are, don't they?
Oh, definitely.
We're talking everything from, unfortunately, abuse and irresponsibility to struggles over control, issues like childlessness, or even the really difficult impact of forced marriages.
Mm-hmm.
Incompatibility comes up a lot, right? As do economic issues, infidelity, sometimes just a simple lack of appreciation or communication.
And yeah, even interference from relatives that can seriously destabilize a partnership sometimes.
Right.
And let's not forget disagreements on, who does what, role allocation. That can cause significant disharmony. Also, major life events like having a baby, losing a job, or a serious illness, these drastically increase the likelihood of conflict popping up.
It sounds like an incredibly heavy toll.
It is, and the negative impacts, they ripple out far beyond just the couple. They affect individuals, the whole family unit, even physical health. It triggers physiological responses that can lead to chronic problems and impaired health over time.
And psychologically, too, I imagine.
Oh, absolutely. From a psychological perspective, marital conflict is strongly linked to lower overall well-being. And sadly, women often report lower marital satisfaction and tend to be more profoundly affected by divorce.
Why is that, generally?
Well, it's partly attributed to the workload many women face, juggling outside work with the majority of the housework and childcare. Plus, there are these lingering expectations of traditional roles. It just highlights how complex these dynamics really are.
Okay, so if conflict is, like you said, an inevitable part of the relationship journey, what's the antidote? How do we deal with its, corrosive toll?
Right. This brings us to a really fascinating and crucial concept, relational resilience. It's about shifting our focus from just, surviving conflict to actively thriving through it.
Resilience. Okay, we hear that word a lot, resilience. But what does it really mean when you apply it to the unique dynamics of a relationship?
Think of it as a couple's kind of built-in shock absorber. It's resistance to difficulties, it's positive adaptability, and crucially, the ability to bounce back after challenges.
Bounce back.
Yeah. So when we talk about couple resilience, it's really a process where partners develop behaviors specifically designed to adapt to negative conditions and maintain their shared well-being. The key here is how quickly and effectively the couple recovers after experiencing crises.
Right. So it's not just about gritting your teeth and enduring a tough time, but about how you actually spring back from it and maybe even come out stronger.
Exactly. And what that looks like in a relationship? Well, it encompasses the coping skills couples use when they face negative conditions, their ability to effectively adapt, and the potential strength that gets revealed when they navigate difficult circumstances, specifically to protect the relationship.
So it's protective.
Yes. Resilient families, they don't just focus on the negative stuff. They actively seek to strengthen their abilities as a unit. And this lowers stress, it helps them overcome difficulties, and ultimately makes them stronger. They actually gain more resources through the process.
That sounds like a really powerful transformation. Like a crisis isn't just a crisis. It can actually become an opportunity for something new. new.
Precisely. It's
Yeah.
almost like an open call to, well, help each other. It's a chance to reassess priorities, encourage new or renewed investment in meaningful relationships. It fosters both personal and relational growth.
Hmm.
This kind of orientation, it shifts a couple's perspective away from hopelessness towards an affirmation of their shared strengths and their potential. And the research shows a clear, positive and significant relationship between this relational resilience and overall relationship satisfaction.
That makes so much sense. It's proactive. Now let's switch gears slightly and talk about something incredibly popular in the relationship world. Gary Chapman's 5 love languages.
Ah, yes, the love languages.
I mean, acts of service, physical touch, quality time, gifts, words of affirmation. These concepts are just everywhere, aren't they?
They really are.
Chapman's whole premise is that people primarily rely on one main love language, and relationships are supposedly more satisfying when partners either match or at least understand and speak their partner's language.
It's true. The appeal is undeniable. I mean, his book sold over 20 million copies, translated into 49 languages. It's often the go-to topic on first dates or for couples looking to, boost their happiness.
Right?
But here's where it gets really interesting. Despite this massive popularity, there's actually surprisingly little scientific research to support the framework itself.
Wait, really? That's kind of wild, considering how ubiquitous it is.
It is surprising.
If millions of people swear by it, does that lack of scientific backing truly mean it's not useful? Or is there maybe a more nuanced takeaway here?
That's a great question. Let's break down what the research does show. First off, the official love language quiz, the one millions have taken online.
Yeah.
There are no published findings on its reliability and validity. That's a pretty big red flag in scientific terms.
Okay, well.
And when researchers tried to develop their own surveys based on the concept, they found they couldn't adequately capture 5 distinct languages. One qualitative study even suggested there might actually be 6.
So the very structure of the 5 languages is kind of shaky in research terms.
Right.
What about the core idea, though? That matching love languages leads to greater satisfaction. Does the science back that up?
Well, the evidence there is very mixed. Several studies, including one that actually used Chapman's own quiz, found no significant difference in satisfaction between couples with matching love languages and those who were mismatched.
Huh. So matching doesn't automatically mean happier?
Not necessarily, according to that research. However, one more recent study did find a link. It suggested that when partners' primary love languages matched, there was greater relationship and sexual satisfaction. So it's not entirely clear-cut. It's mixed.
Okay, so it's not a definitive yes or no on matching. But what about just knowing your partner's love language?
Yeah.
Even if you don't match, does that make a difference?
Now that's where things get a bit more promising. 2 studies did find that simply knowing your partner's primary love language predicted higher relationship satisfaction, both in the present and looking towards the future.
Interesting.
So what does this all mean for you, listening? The core idea, the importance of tuning into your partner's needs and wants, making them feel understood, validated, and cared for, that is absolutely supported across many robust relationship models.
Right.
So even if the specific love languages framework itself lacks strong empirical backing, the underlying principle, that intentional understanding and focused effort, that's vital.
That's a fantastic distinction. It's more about the spirit of the idea, the intention behind it, not necessarily fitting into these neat little boxes.
Exactly. It's the attunement that matters.
Okay. Speaking of long-term success, let's turn to some real-world experts, couples who have actually done it, who've made it work for decades. We have insights from a really fascinating study on long-term same-sex couples.
Oh, this is a great one.
Yeah, some of them have been together for like 13 to 41 years. The average was over 22 years together. These couples navigated their relationships through decades, often despite facing significant historical societal stigma. They really are experts on their own longevity.
It's a remarkable study, and it highlighted 6 key themes that came directly from these couples' own perceptions about what made their relationships last. The first, and arguably the most central, was communication.
No surprise there, maybe.
Right. But they emphasized being open, honest, respectful, and kind. For some, it was a daily practice. For others, it was more like an intentional check-in a couple of times a week, just to discuss feelings without interruption. The common thread, though, was tackling issues early, before they could fester and, explode.
That makes perfect sense. Avoiding that festering is just crucial, isn't it? It sounds straightforward, but actually putting it into practice consistently can be tough. What was the next key insight these couples shared?
The second theme was similarities in values. These couples consistently found common ground in their goals, things like wanting to create a family, sharing experiences, ideals, even religious or political views.
Okay.
Many also cited similar backgrounds and habits, particularly around finances. One couple literally said they had the exact same spending habits. This provided a really critical same-page foundation for their partnership.
That's interesting because sometimes you hear that old saying, opposites attract. But this study suggests that having that foundational alignment really helps. Yet they also valued differences too, right? It wasn't all about being the same.
Absolutely. That's the third theme. They appreciated both similarities and differences. While similarities could create ease, like one couple saying, "We're both introverts, happy just sitting at home."
Yeah, I get that.
Differences were also really valued as complementary. Maybe one partner was more educated, while the other was streetwise, or one handled the bills while the other kept the house tidy. It was about accepting and respecting each other's unique contributions rather than seeing those differences as flaws to be fixed.
So it's not just tolerating differences, but actively valuing how they kind of complete the picture.
That's a great point. What else did these long-term couples share as critical to their success?
The fourth theme was sharing experiences. This meant spending quality time together, having fun, sharing hobbies, traveling. You saw quotes like, "We're just best friends because we like being together all the time," or "We laugh a lot." They created this rich shared history together, and that history literally buoyed them through the difficult times. And even if their interests differed significantly, they prioritized doing things together for the relationship's benefit. Like one partner might love boating, the other gardening, but they'd make a point to join each other, even if they weren't super passionate about the activity itself. It was about the togetherness.
That commitment to simply being with each other, prioritizing that time, sounds incredibly powerful, which I guess brings us neatly to the fifth key.
It does. The fifth theme was a profound commitment to the relationship. This was described as a real driving force for continuous work and growth. One partner even said something striking. Commitment is more important than love.
Wow.
They explained that love, it fluctuates, feelings ebb and flow, but commitment means we're going to fix things when they get tough.
It involves supporting each other through stresses, showing appreciation and respect, and genuinely wanting the other person to be happy. They talked about relying on and leaning on each other, making the relationship a top priority. This included maintaining emotional and physical attraction, too. Some even said they were still truly, madly, deeply in love after all those years.
That's incredibly inspiring.
Right.
It really sounds like they actively chose to maintain that spark, that connection. And finally, what about the world outside the couple? How important was that support system?
That was the sixth theme, and it was crucial. Support from others. This included the vital role of family and friends. Couples mentioned how their families were very important to our relationship, the adoration they felt from each other's mothers, for instance. They talked about the strength they drew from their broad support networks of friends, and even actively expanding that circle together. It really shows that love doesn't exist in a vacuum, does it? It's nurtured by its community.
That wisdom from these couples, it just really highlights the practical, intentional efforts involved. It's not passive. Now, shifting gears just a little. The renowned Gottman Institute has also uncovered some fascinating patterns, particularly focusing on male partners, that are incredibly predictive of lasting love.
Ah, yes. Gottman's work. Here's a truly eye-opening finding, especially directed towards men listening. Imagine your relationship is like a ship, okay? And you're about to hit the sometimes stormy seas of parenthood.
Okay.
Gottman found that how a man communicates respect and affection to his partner, even just months after the wedding, can actually predict how smoothly that journey into parenthood goes. Not just for them as a couple, but even arguably for their child. It's that foundational.
It's quite a revelation. So what's the core of this powerful insight for men specifically? What should they be doing?
It really comes down to communicating respect and affection. And specifically for men, Gottman talks about accepting influence from her.
Accepting influence. What does that mean exactly?
It means genuinely letting yourself be moved by her wants, her needs, her feelings. Really trying to understand her point of view, especially during disagreements. When a man does this consistently, it communicates an enormous amount of respect, love, and caring.
Okay. And what are the broader results of that kind of approach? beyond just navigating parenthood more smoothly?
Well, men who consistently accept influence tend to sail through that transition to fatherhood with more ease. They become much more involved fathers, more engaged with their children, and interestingly, they continue to see their wives as beautiful, even during the physical changes of pregnancy.
Huh.
It's all part of the same fabric, really connection and caring. And Helen Fisher's research supports this too. She found there's essentially no shelf life to being in love. The secret, she says, is actively communicating that respect and affection and always looking for connection and understanding when you listen. It really is that fundamental.
That simplicity is almost deceiving, isn't it? Because it requires so much intentionality, so much conscious effort. Which brings us nicely to some practical communication strategies for lasting love. Because knowing is one thing, doing is another. First off, clear communication. We just cannot read minds, no matter how long we've been with someone or how much we love them. Misunderstandings are just waiting to happen otherwise.
You're so right. To communicate clearly, you really need to try and set aside uninterrupted time. Think about what you actually want to say, be clear about it, and use those I statements: I need, I want, I feel.
Right, not you always or you never.
Exactly. Accept responsibility for your own feelings. And remember to share the positive feelings too. What you appreciate, what you admire, how important your partner is to you. That often gets forgotten. Also, be really aware of your tone of voice. And sometimes, you need to negotiate or even just agree to disagree if an issue isn't absolutely critical. Know when to let things go.
And it's not just about the words we choose, is it? That nonverbal communication speaks volumes, sometimes way louder than anything we actually say.
It absolutely does. Your body posture, your tone of voice, your facial expressions, they all convey messages. And if your nonverbal cues conflict with your words, people will almost always believe the nonverbal.
Like saying, I love you, but sounding totally bored or annoyed.
Exactly. That sends a very mixed and usually negative message. Your body language needs to reflect your words for the message to land authentically.
So much of good communication is also about listening, right? Not just waiting for your turn to talk. How can we be better active listeners?
Oh, active listening is absolutely crucial for encouraging open and honest dialogue. Simple things like maintaining comfortable eye contact where it's culturally appropriate, of course, leaning in slightly, showing interest, having an open, non-defensive posture, facing the person, maybe sitting or standing at the same level, avoiding fidgeting or distractions, put the phone away.
Yes. Mute the phone.
Let the other person speak without interruption. Really show genuine attention. And if you feel yourself getting too angry or overwhelmed, be prepared to take a time out to calm down before you try to address the issue again. That's okay.
That's a really important one.
And maybe even ask for feedback sometimes. Did you feel heard just now? It shows you're committed to improving.
Okay, great tips. And finally, how do we manage conflict effectively using these communication skills? Because as we've established, conflict is pretty much a guaranteed part of the journey.
Right. So first, try to avoid the silent treatment. That usually just makes things worse. Don't jump to conclusions. Try to find out the facts first. Discuss what actually happened objectively, rather than jumping straight to judgment.
Focus on the behavior, not the person.
Exactly. Your goal should be to understand each other, not to win the argument or defeat your partner. Try to use future and present tense rather than constantly dredging up past grievances. Concentrate on the major problems. Don't get sidetracked by every little annoyance. Always try to address the feelings. First, acknowledge the emotion and then move on to the differences of opinion or the practical issue. And crucially, use those I feel statements. I feel hurt when, instead of you are statements you are inconsiderate, which just sound accusatory and shut down the conversation.
Those are incredibly practical, useful tips. And if, despite all this effort, communication problems just keep persisting, what's the next step?
Consider relationship counseling. Seriously. Counselors are trained to recognize these problematic communication patterns that couples get stuck in. They can help you change them, provide specific strategies, and offer a safe, neutral space to explore difficult issues.
And it's not just for relationships on the block, right?
Not at all. It's always better to act early rather than waiting until the situation feels desperate or has escalated too far. Think of it more like a proactive checkup for your relationship's health, not just a last resort when everything's falling apart.
That's a great way to frame it. Okay, so as we wrap up this deep dive into keeping love alive, let's maybe distill the core lessons, the big takeaways for fostering a lasting, fulfilling partnership. First, remember that conflict is inevitable, but relational resilience is a process that can transform it into growth.
Second, the absolute bedrock of a strong relationship is open, honest, and respectful communication. That came up again and again. And third, actively demonstrating commitment and affection isn't a one-time thing. It's a continuous practice that builds trust and deepens connection over time.
Fourth, really appreciate both your shared values, the things that create that strong foundation, and your complementary differences, the things that enrich your connection and make you a more well-rounded team. Fifth, prioritize those shared experiences, having fun together and providing mutual support. Those shared moments really are the glue.
And finally, don't underestimate the profound power of external support from family, from friends. That community really nurtures and strengthens your bond. So the true secret to lasting love, it isn't some magic formula or a one-size-fits-all checklist. It's really about consistent, intentional effort day in and day out.
So here's a final thought to leave you with. If love isn't just a feeling that happens to us, but more like a continuous process of rebuilding, growing, and understanding each other, what one small intentional step could you take today, right now, to deepen your partnership's resilience?
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time, keep exploring and keep connecting.